Ceann Comhairle, tomorrow and Friday I'll attend a meeting of the European Council in Brussels, as well as a meeting of the Euro Summit. On Thursday afternoon we'll focus on the multiannual financial framework, to be followed by a discussion on external relations that evening. On Friday the meeting will begin with a discussion on citizens' consultations on the future of Europe, followed by an exchange on the single market. The Euro Summit will take place at lunchtime. Other issues include migration, the challenge posed by large-scale disinformation, the fight against racism and xenophobia, and climate change. I'll focus my remarks today on the single market, migration, disinformation and external relations, as well as the Euro Summit. Minister McEntee will speak about the other European Council issues in greater detail in her statement later. However, I'll turn first to Brexit, which we will also discuss in Brussels on Thursday in Article 50 format. The UK Government has postponed the planned vote on the withdrawal agreement in the House of Commons. There were further developments this morning within the Conservative Party. As I said before, the withdrawal agreement, of which the protocol on Ireland and Northern Ireland, including the backstop, is an integral part, has been endorsed by the European Union and agreed with the UK Government. It therefore carries the support of 28 governments. It is the result of over 20 months of complicated technical negotiations and represents a carefully balanced compromise among 28 states. It is the best possible deal to protect the European Union's interests and those of the United Kingdom, to ensure an orderly withdrawal, and it cannot be renegotiated. The European Union and the 27 member states are united on this. The backstop, we should not forget, is not just an Irish issue. It's there to prevent the emergence of a hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland, but it's also there to protect the single market and ensure that an open Irish border does not become a backdoor to the European Union. So it is a European issue too. We should all recall that a UK-wide backstop, rather than a Northern Ireland-specific backstop, was included at the request of the UK Government. It's important to remember that it was the United Kingdom that took the decision to leave the European Union, and after that, the United Kingdom's government set out a number of red lines: no customs union, no single market, no free movement of people, and no recognition of the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice. The agreement we reached was achieved by working around the constraints, by drawing around the UK's red lines. The European Union has always said that if the United Kingdom's approach to the future relationship evolves and those red lines are erased, we will be willing to take this into account in negotiations on the future relationship treaty, in accordance, of course, with our guidelines and based on the balance between rights and obligations. I hope that the withdrawal agreement will be ratified by the UK Parliament and also the European Parliament in due course. However, the Government, in close cooperation with the EU, is continuing our work to prepare for all possible outcomes, including the central case scenario and the no-deal scenario. We're accelerating the recruitment of customs officers and veterinary health inspectors, and we're developing infrastructure in ports and enabling legislation. We will be as ready as we can be for all eventualities. Whatever happens, Ireland will remain at the heart of the European Union, the Eurozone and the single market, in the common European home which we helped to build. 4 times in our nation's history, we've travelled a different path to Britain. When we became independent and founded the Free State, when we declared a republic, when we floated the punt, and when we joined the euro without the United Kingdom. On each occasion there are risks and challenges and opportunities and a transition period, but on each occasion we emerge stronger and wealthier, and that will be the case again. My final remark on Brexit before I move on is that it is noteworthy to recognise the contrast between the political situation here in Dublin and the political situation in London. Both the United Kingdom and Ireland are faced with existential threats because of Brexit, but in this country we have a degree of political stability and a degree of consensus across the House, and that makes our country a much better place and puts our country in a much stronger position as these negotiations continue. The single market, which marks its 25th anniversary this year, is one of the great achievements of the Union. It has brought about increased employment, increased trade, greater competition and higher living standards for our citizens. It has also given us, as European citizens, the freedom to work or study anywhere in the Union. Its further development is essential to ensure Europe's continued competitiveness on the world stage, and this is a priority for Ireland as a trading country. We've been working closely with like-minded partners to ensure a high level of political ambition, with a particular focus on unlocking the single market's full potential around digitalisation and trade and services. Our approach is informed by the work led by Minister Humphreys alongside her counterparts in Finland, Denmark and the Czech Republic, who last month launched a report commissioned from Copenhagen Economics entitled "Making Trade and Services Work for All." This meeting of the European Council also provides a timely opportunity to reflect on the implementation of the comprehensive approach to migration, which we agreed at the June Council meeting. I believe that Europe can only respond effectively to large migratory flows by working together, and I support the three-pronged approach which we agreed in June: securing our external borders, strengthening cooperation with countries of transit and origin, and dealing with the management of migrants within the EU on the basis of solidarity. The European Union needs an asylum system that can respond effectively to large-scale migratory movements, both legal and illegal, and we're engaged in efforts to reform the common European asylum system. Discussions on controlled centres and disembarkation platforms have taken place in recent months. As I said in the past, we would only seek to progress these initiatives if we were satisfied that they would be fully compliant with our obligations under international law, and we continue to cooperate closely with the UNHCR and the IOM to this end. Collaboration with these organisations is also an important part of our efforts to support our African partners, both through Irish Aid and the EU Trust Fund for Africa. We've pledged €15 million for this purpose, the third highest contribution per capita in the European Union. The Global Compact on Migration, which was signed at Marrakesh earlier this week, Minister Flanagan representing the Irish Government, reflects the need for cooperation at a global level without dictating how states should determine their own policies. It is regrettable that some EU member states did not participate in the Compact, and I hope that in future they will revisit this decision. Following our discussions at the June Council, the Commission will present its action plan against disinformation, and I fully support the efforts to see off this evolving threat. It's important that we work together to counter disinformation activities that threaten our shared democracy. The plan sets out 4 things we must do: improving detection, analysis and exposure of disinformation, strengthening cooperation to enable a more cohesive response, engaging with industry and raising public awareness and supporting quality media and journalism. It is essential that the electoral process is safeguarded from inappropriate online interference and manipulation, and that we respect international law and fundamental rights. The Open Policy Forum, which was held in Dublin Castle on the 6th of December, examined some of the issues related to this, including the regulation of transparency of online political advertising. The EU must act in a coordinated and comprehensive way, and I look forward to discussing this further with EU partners. On external relations, we will discuss preparations for the summit between the European Union and the Arab League, which is scheduled to take place in Cairo in February. Recent developments in Russia and the Ukraine are also likely to be discussed, and the government is gravely concerned about the increasing militarisation of Crimea and the Sea of Azov, and we support calls for all sides to de-escalate the situation. Ireland is unwavering in its support for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and we do not recognise Russia's annexation of Crimea. As part of our efforts to develop relations with Ukraine, we will open an embassy there as part of the Global Ireland 2025 initiative. I firmly believe that unity at EU level must continue to be the cornerstone of our approach to Russia. The EU is at its strongest when it speaks with one voice, and I'll emphasise this in my engagement with European partners. We'll also have an exchange on the fight against racism and xenophobia, and also anti-Semitism. Ireland fully supports the ongoing efforts here, including the Council's declaration on the 6th of December on the fight against anti-Semitism. I believe that all states share a duty to work towards achieving societies that are free of inequality, repression and discrimination, in accordance with their international obligations. The focus of our discussions at the Euro Summit will be on strengthening and deepening economic and monetary union. The summit is expected to endorse the positive outcome of negotiations among finance ministers in recent months. These negotiations recently saw agreement reached on the reform of the European Stability Mechanism, the ESM, which will now have additional responsibilities in the areas of crisis prevention and resolution in the Eurozone, and also on advancing banking union. I welcome these positive developments, which mark a further step in the development of economic and monetary union, and will serve to strengthen the resilience of our banking system and the overall stability of the Eurozone. I expect that some will want to discuss also the possibility of a budgetary instrument for the Eurozone as part of the multi-financial framework. It's a proposal that we're open to considering. Ceann Comhairle, I look forward to reporting back to the House next week on the 19th of December on the outcome of these meetings. Thank you.